Hello and welcome. I'm here to guide you through some of the most critical, need-to-know aspects of modern hotel operations. As students of the Europe Hotel School, you are absolutely on the path to lead this industry, and my goal is to help you get there by sharing some key insights right from the front lines. So today, we are diving deep into a topic that is just fundamental to running a smooth, efficient, and profitable hotel: mastering PAR levels. Now, this isn't just about counting stuff in a storeroom. Not at all. It's a real strategic skill that directly impacts your budget, your team's sanity, and you guessed it, most importantly, your guest's experience.
So here's our game plan. We'll kick things off with the core challenge of managing all those supplies. Then we'll define exactly what a PAR level is. After that, we're going to get super practical with 3 case studies: consumables, linens, and chinaware. And finally, we'll tie it all back to your role as a future leader in this industry.
All right, first up, let's really get into the OS&E balancing act. This is a huge operational challenge that every single hotel leader has to face when managing operating supplies and equipment.
You see, at the very heart of hotel operations is this constant push and pull. On one side, if you understock, you risk the absolute worst-case scenario, running out of something essential, like towels or coffee, when you're completely sold out. That is a one-way ticket to guest dissatisfaction. But on the other hand, if you overstock, you're tying up a massive amount of cash in inventory that's just sitting there, collecting dust and costing you money. It is a very high-stakes game.
So how do the pros solve this puzzle? Well, that brings us right to our next section, the PAR level explained. This is the industry standard, data-driven solution to that tricky balancing act.
So what is a PAR level exactly? Well, think of it as the perfect amount of any given item you need to meet all your day-to-day operational demands. But, and this is so important, it also includes a smart, built-in buffer for all those items that get lost, damaged, or just temporarily out of circulation, like linens that are down in the laundry.
You know, a really well-done PAR level calculation is incredibly thorough. It's not just about what you can see on the shelf. Not even close. It has to account for items in the guest rooms, items being washed, items on a housekeeping cart, and even a buffer for things like breakage and a safety stock for those unexpectedly busy weekends. It's a complete 360-degree view of your entire inventory.
Okay, let's get practical and move to our first real-world application, our case study on daily consumables. We're talking about things like shampoo, soap, and stationery, all those items that get used up once and then have to be replaced every single day.
For these items, the formula is actually pretty straightforward. First, you figure out your daily requirement. That's simply the usage per day times your number of rooms times your expected occupancy. Then you just multiply that daily number by how many days of reserve stock you want to keep on hand. So, for a 300-room hotel running at 80% occupancy, your daily need is 240 little bottles of shampoo.
And now just watch how quickly that simple calculation blows up. If that same hotel wants a 30-day supply, the order suddenly becomes 7,200 units of shampoo. I mean, think about that for a second, and that's just one tiny item. This really shows you the significant financial commitment we're talking about with OS&E.
All right, let's move on and see how this gets a little more complex. Our next case study is reusable linens, things like towels and bedding. You know, the items that are constantly moving through every part of the hotel.
Now here, the calculation changes a bit. Instead of thinking about individual units, we think in terms of PAR sets. A PAR set is everything needed for one room: sheets, pillowcases, towels, the whole shebang. The formula is simply your total number of rooms multiplied by how many PAR sets you decide you need for each room. And trust me, for luxury hotels, this number is always higher to guarantee that seamless service.
And this is exactly why multiple sets are so critical. In what we call the 5-part linen cycle, which is standard for luxury properties, you have one set in the guest room, a second one down in the laundry, a third one that's clean and in circulation, a fourth resting in main storage, and a fifth as a safety stock. Each step represents a PAR, and you need all of them to absolutely guarantee a fresh set is always ready to go.
So the really crucial point here is the sheer scale of this investment. For that same 300-room hotel running on a 5-PAR system, they need to buy 1,500 complete sets of every single linen item. That is a massive upfront capital cost, but is absolutely vital to prevent any kind of failure in service.
Okay, finally, let's tackle our third case study, durable chinaware. This is everything from plates and glasses to silverware, where the main operational challenge isn't the daily turnover, but the inevitable breakage and loss that happens over time.
For these kinds of items, the formula has a really interesting twist.
You start with a base par level, usually 2 to 3 sets for every single seat or cover in your restaurant. But then you have to add what's called a breakage factor, an extra 20 to 30% to your initial purchase. You are literally proactively planning for the items you know you're going to lose.
This chart really puts it all into perspective, doesn't it? For a 100-seat restaurant using a 3-par system, you need 300 plates just for daily operations. But with a 25% breakage factor, you have to buy an extra 75 plates right from day one. That means almost a quarter of your initial purchase is just to cover losses you haven't even had yet. In a luxury setting, you just cannot afford to be caught short waiting for a new delivery.
And this brings us to our final section, the one that ties everything we've talked about together, your role in excellence. This is all about connecting these numbers and calculations to the real-world goal of providing absolutely flawless service.
As you move into leadership positions, I want you to remember this. Mastering par levels is not just some back-of-house inventory task. It is the strategic foundation for optimizing your hotel's capital, ensuring your operation is stable, and empowering your team to deliver that exceptional guest experience. The responsibility for reviewing and signing off on these calculations, it's going to be yours.
Let this one sink in for a moment. Your team's ability to service guests flawlessly, to provide that perfect, seamless, uninterrupted stay, depends entirely on getting these initial purchase quantities right. It all starts here, long before the very first guest ever walks through your doors.
So as you continue your studies, I'm going to leave you with this question to think about. As a future leader, how will you make sure your inventory strategy goes beyond just controlling costs and becomes a powerful tool that actively enhances the guest experience? Thank you.